And we're hearing harrowing tales of survival from passengers who were aboard that Amtrak train and are now safely back in Jacksonville tonight. First Coast News' Julia Janae is live at the Jacksonville Amtrak station. Julia, you were there as those passengers got off their bus.
That's right. It's been about an hour since those passengers have left this area on that charter bus. It arrived at about 4:30 and stayed here an hour, and it is headed toward Fort Lauderdale now. Some of those passengers did get off here in Jacksonville, but others needed to complete their destination. We talked to several passengers who were on board that Silver 91 train. One of them, George Keppert, he told us he knew the moments before that train actually collided that he felt that his car was going to go off the track, and that's exactly what happened.
I had to crawl on my hands and knees to the stairs. Going down the stairs was probably the most painful, and then an officer carried me down past the wreckage to the street, and it was freezing out there. I just basically had to lay down on the road for an hour and just shaking, freezing.
Now, Keppert told me that the bus ride from South Carolina to here in Jacksonville was very quiet. He says he believes most of those people on board were still in shock. We did talk to several passengers, and they have some opinions on what they believe Amtrak could have done differently in this situation. We'll have more on that tonight. First Coast News at 11. For now, reporting live, Julia Janae, First Coast News on your side.
Thank you, Julia. Today's crash is just the latest incident involving an Amtrak train. We turn to our Nick Perot, who has more about recent troubles on the rails. Nick?
Well, yes, Jeff, good evening. This is most recently just days ago. Fortunately, Republican members of Congress managed to walk away from a crash on their way to a retreat just south of Charlottesville, Virginia. That Amtrak train smashed through a garbage truck that was somehow on the tracks. The cross arms and gates were working according to witnesses, but unclear why the garbage truck was on the tracks. Also fortunate, some members of Congress were doctors and able to offer help to victims. A month prior, what was supposed to be a historic ride for passengers on the first ever Seattle, Washington to Portland, Oregon became historic for all the wrong reasons. 3 people killed and dozens injured after the train rode off the tracks around a curve. The black box on board confirmed the train was traveling some 80 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone. Back here closer to home, a CSX train derailed in Jacksonville back in October on its way to Waycross, Georgia. Luckily, only 9 empty cars derailed that Saturday morning. And finally, some statistics to leave you with. In 2016, across the United States, 260 people killed and 842 injured from derailed trains. And in case you're wondering, it takes a train traveling at 55 miles an hour up to a half a mile or more to stop. This happens more frequently than one might think. Jeff?